I got here. Now, nobody's here answering the phone. At 7 o'clock, I'm in my office, and my office phone rings. It never rang. The church phone doesn't ring in my office, but it did. It rang my office. So I'm really, really busy, but also a little stupid, so I answer the phone. I mean, normally you just let it go, wouldn't you? I mean, you got a lot to do. It was a fellow that I used to know probably 15 years ago. Maybe a little less than that. Yeah. Oh yeah, it's probably more like 8 or 9 years ago. And he says, "Is this Phil?" And I said, "Yeah." And he gave me his name. And he said, "I'm in the hospital with my 15-year-old, and he's got cancer, and he's in ICU, and he's dying." My first thought is, how'd you get me? How did you get through? There's nobody here. And he said, "Could you just say a prayer for my kid?" And he said, "You remember him?" He said, "You remember back in the day, before the new children's building was up, he was going to Super Church Kids sometimes, and we had a baptism on that Sunday, and at the end of baptism, you said, 'Does anybody else want to be baptized?' And all these people ran to the front. He says, 'My son Caleb was one of them.' He ran to the front and got baptized, and he said, 'No, today's in the hospital. Would you pray for him?' And so I prayed for him, and that's not the big thing. The big thing is he turned around and he said, 'How's your son?' He's been keeping up with us all this time, watches online, and so he prayed for me." Yeah, I know. So you might add to your prayer list a 15-year-old young man named Stephen Portway. And he's only had one chemo treatment. Now he's in ICU, so it doesn't sound good. But just pray for him. I told you all that to say, for a moment, the focus was off me and my trouble. I looked at someone else. You know what? It gave me hope even for my situation. It just did. To be able to pray for someone else and to offer them hope. And I really could genuinely offer him hope. And then he turns around and gives it right back to me. That was amazing. Don't live in despair. Don't live in despair. Live in hope. Reach up to God. Look into yourself. And look to others. And then do something practical for other people. You know, there's a couple things we do here in our church that for me, it's like electricity. I feel like the air is filled with electricity. It's like, and I know it's the Spirit of God, but the adrenaline starts pumping, and I'm looking around the church, and people are smiling, and they're happy. I mean, their roof got blown off, and they're happy, they're smiling, and they're serving other people. And I tell you, there's something infectious and contagious about that. It's like we rise above the stuff, and we get to live the life of Christ. It is just the most amazing thing. I feel that way when we run Alpha, and the room in Alpha is filled with people who are looking for God, and we just know they're going to find Him. It's just the best thing ever. I would go to this church if I wasn't the pastor. I'm just going to tell you. I love bringing hope, don't you? And we are the people who can do it in this moment. So let's just keep doing it. And you know what? I know many of you, we're going to have teams coming in here to help us because we can't do it all. We just can't. You got your own house to take care of. And when you can, I know you pitch in, you do, but you know what? Help in any way you can. But let's not leave out the looking outward part, because that is so, so important. You can do that in your neighborhood. You can do it with your neighbors. You've all witnessed it. You've all experienced it this week. I'm amazed at the goodness of God in God's people. Amen? Amen. All right. Amen. So his gifts are what they are, and he's very unique in the things he's able to pull off and do, and I'm just very, very grateful to have him. Bless you, man.
Now I know why Phil doesn't like when people clap for him when he takes the stage. If you weren't the pastor, we would welcome you into the church, so I just want to make sure you know that. Well, hey, thank you for worshiping with us today. If you are new here, I know we have a few new people. Please text VCNO to 94,000. Pick the new here option. John Cabra, our Connections pastor, will reach out to you this week. We'd love to get to know you a little bit. If you came prepared to give, remember you can do so on your way out in the vestibule or text 94,000. VCNO to 94,000. You can give online. And if you want to give towards the hurricane relief efforts, we do have an option to do that. So we have a lot of people to help. So if you want to give towards that, you can do so online also. Phil mentioned this week that we've been serving food. We've served over 3,000 families this week. It's been amazing the amount of food that we've given away.